This evening's lecture was the second in a series on businesses in development, the private sector in development, and it was on the case of Nigeria. So what kind of leverage could a company like Shell mean for a country like Nigeria if we're talking about development in Nigeria?
Governments set the frameworks in which we operate. So there's two things are important there at the global level, that we really have global frameworks as well that apply to companies from all the countries, because we don't just compete with European or American companies, we compete on a global scale, so we want everybody to adhere to those standards. Secondly, in terms of the countries we operate in, we are very dependent upon governments, the rules they set and also how good they are. And lack of corruption, good governance are very essential factors, not just for us to operate, but for the broader economic and social climate in the countries we operate in. There's two issues important for us. One is that when setting global frameworks, which we believe in, which we comply with, that they are really global and that they create a level playing field, so that not just companies from the US or Europe have to comply with those, like transparency directives or human rights frameworks or OECD guidelines or the Ruggie frameworks, but that they apply worldwide. And secondly, in some countries, like in Nigeria, we operate under difficult circumstances where we not just have to deal with our own operations and make sure that they are as good as they should be according to our own standards, but where we are in a context of poverty, a context of corruption as well, context of environmental devastation, where a lot of sabotage takes place, and where almost everything you do leads to conflict in the communities, and how to deal with that. That's our big dilemma in Nigeria.
Mr. Benschop, as Shell is assuming that an operation by Shell in a country like Nigeria is in the end always for the benefit of the country. And I think you can question that assumption. If you look at a country like Nigeria, that is a case in point, a very poor country, very low on the Human Development Index of the United Nations, high level of corruption, and a very high level of poverty. And you can make the case that this is partly due to the operations of companies like Shell and many others who are extracting the minerals from Nigeria. I'm quite sure that transnational corporations can have a positive impact in the countries where they operate, a positive impact on employment, for example, on labor standards more in general. On environmental standards, because I think they are under international scrutiny more than local companies often in developing countries. They feel obliged to set higher standards than local companies do. At the same time, I think it is very important that the standards they have to adhere to will become an obligation more than a voluntary act by these transnational corporations. And of course that's in the end the responsibility of the governments to make this compliance effective.
Some issues that were raised by the audience were very specific on human rights issues, people that had left the village because of oil spills. Some questions were about who should clean up the oil spills, but on that issue, Dick Benschop had to reply if necessary. Shell had already acknowledged the things they had done wrong, and if not so, they were in debate for court, sometimes in London, sometimes in Nigeria. Other issues that were raised by the audience were like transparency. Should Shell be more transparent in what they are doing in Nigeria, and also what spills there are and what spills should be cleaned up, but also about is there anything like corruption going on or not? Some issues were about that.
Can Shell still improve? Yes, of course. We are on a journey like everybody else. For example, our social investment program is now different than it was 20 years ago. If it comes to handling the environmental effects, there's a lot of oil spills in Nigeria, many caused by sabotage. The way we do that, we ask for help as well. We talk to NGOs like IUCN. We get independent advice on our oil spill management, on our remediation programs, and I think we are improving there, and that's encouraging to see. And we really ask NGOs to cooperate with us as well to make real improvements in our operations and in the communities and on the ground happen.